And what this does is it opens up a line of communication between you and your body, you and your intuition. And these small yeses are going to teach your body that you are listening, that you do follow through. And over time, bigger decisions feel clearer because your self trust already exists. And hey there, welcome back to the Glow Up Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Megan Winkler, and super excited that you're here. Super glad you're here. I am sleepy AF, so we'll see how this goes because I may just start, I don't know, twisting my words up. Like, I had this image of like a churro in my head. I don't know, like a cinnamon sugar twisty pastry. But today we're talking about 3 ways to strengthen your inner yes so that your decisions feel clearer. So I think this is especially important right now because our nervous systems are fried and the systems around us want us to look outside of ourselves for approval, for direction. And when we're able to really tap into our inner knowing and our inner wisdom, things shift around and we can step more into our power. So that's why this episode, I think, is really timely and feels really good. So let's just dive in. Most people think they're bad at decision making if they're disconnected from their body. So I'm not saying most people think they're bad at making decisions. But if you're one of those people that is like, man, I always make the wrong decision, I would be willing to bet that that's because you are really disconnected from your body, because your body has wisdom that your brain can't quite understand at the same pace or in the same way. So our brains obviously are here to keep us safe. And that's kind of the number one goal of the brain, is to keep you alive. So it detects threats. It detects differences in the environment as a potential threat. It detects change as, oh God, this might kill us. So all of these things come into play. Obviously, our prefrontal cortex is there for our higher reasoning. We have our language centers, all of that. There's different parts of our brain that, of course, are more evolved and more conscious than the parts that are keeping us alive. But overall, the brain's big goal is to keep us functioning, right? So our body also receives information, and I am continually fascinated by research showing how our hearts, for instance, can sense things before our brains do, and our gut as well. So we know from just years and years of science and looking at the body and the nervous system that we have this whole connected system within our bodies. And a lot of that runs down the vagus nerve, which runs down the full length of the brain to the bottom of the torso. And part of the central nervous system and all the systems that are going on in there are the neurons, the actual brain cells that are in our gut. So neurons happen in the head, they're brain cells, but we have them throughout our body. And so a lot of times our body will pick up on something that our brain has yet to process, and we're not consciously and cognizantly processing it in the moment, but our body is saying, nope, this is wrong. So anytime you get that gut feeling, that intuitive hit, that something is not right in your environment, listen to it, okay? Because that is your survival system checking in and saying, hey, I'm here to protect you. Our mind may not understand what's going on yet. We may not have logicked our way through this yet, but there's something not right. And because of our system being built like this, clarity is not something that you can think your way into. It's something you need to be able to feel in your whole system, right? So before I dive into more of the nitty-gritty of it, this episode is not about making right or wrong decisions or like how to know if you've made a wrong decision or anything like that. This episode is about strengthening your inner yes, strengthening your inner knowing so that you can make good decisions in the future and you can move forward in power. A lot of times clarity feels elusive to people because the system we're in wants us to outsource decisions. And when I say system, I'm really talking about the various systems in society, right? So from the very first time where, crying, our parents or caregivers are trying to shush us. When we get into school, we're told to listen to the teacher and do what the teacher says. If we're in a religious situation, we're told to listen to the word of God and do what God says. And that spans various religions. We're told to listen to the adults and the authority figures in our life. Beyond that, it turns into, listen to the government because we know what's best for you. A lot of times, clarity also comes from the need to feel safe, and you find that you're overthinking. Okay. And this happens big time when you're burnout. So if you're burnout, you can overthink a lot easier. Ironically, if you're overthinking, that can lead to burnout, but that's a whole other story. And there is this urge to wait for certainty before acting. And so if you are able to tap into the certainty that no matter what happens, you will find a solution. You will find a way out. You are resourced. You are powerful. Then that is the certainty that you should be following, right? Because we have always lived in uncertain times. Right now, it's very obvious. But even when it's not been this obvious, we're always living with uncertainty. We have always lived with, a potential outside threat, with the possibility of a horrible disease, like all of these things. We are just in such an interconnected world right now that it makes it so obvious, and daily and even hourly, we are reminded of the uncertainty that is around us. So it can be really easy to get caught up in that uncertainty. And rather than get caught up in that uncertainty, I want you to be certain of a few things. And I want you to be certain of your personal power, of your creative ability, of your problem solving ability. You have survived every single day until today, and you will continue to survive in the future. You are here because the thing that is certain is that you know how to get yourself out of a sticky situation. You know how to deal with unplanned events happening around you. You know how to do this. You're resourced. You are powerful. The world wants us to be agreeable and not embodied. And so embodying that certainty can help us get to the clarity we want. I survey my clients at this point probably about 3 times a year. And the thing that always comes up across the board, whether they're business owners or not, is clarity. They want clarity. And clarity comes from being certain in your ability to not only survive, but to thrive. And we all have this potential, and it looks different for all of us. Any clarity that we have starts to disappear when our nervous system is rushed, when we are overwhelmed by a never-ending news source, when the decisions we make are made to avoid discomfort or to people please or to avoid a fight. And when our body is not consulted at all. And I'm not saying you have to go into like a big deep meditation every time you need to make a big decision. What I am saying is when you tap into the physical sensations that are happening when you are in that decision making process, those physical sensations are going to give you a lot of information. And if you're ignoring those, you may not be making the best decision because you're not making a decision from clarity. And I want you to always think about, and when we talk about clarity, I want you to know that clarity is never missing. It is quiet, and it gets super quiet when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed. Okay. So if you're feeling like there is no clarity in a situation and you're trying to make a decision and it's just not working and you just are struggling with this, and I'm not talking about like what you're going to order at Chili's. I'm talking about like a big decision or a pivot in your business, that sort of thing. Get quiet so you can hear that quiet clarity. Slow down, and slowing down right now is one of the most difficult things that we can do. But I believe in you. So, what does an inner yes actually feel like in your body? So, it doesn't feel like excitement or adrenaline in many of the same ways that intuition is a very subtle message. Your inner yes is also very subtle, especially at first, especially if you're not used to listening to your energetic body and your system. Okay. So sometimes it can feel like an exhale or a drop in your shoulders. It's like, oh, that feels good. Yeah. A softening in your chest or your belly. And even like the feeling of like, I can live with this. I can do this. This is cool. That can be what it feels like in your body. Inner yes does not equal urgency. Okay. So the opposite of urgency in this situation is your inner yes, your inner knowing. When you've got this sense of urgency, even if it's positive urgency, like excitement, slowing things down a little bit will help you find if it's a true yes or if maybe it's a decision that's not aligned with you right now. Your inner yes is going to be really settled. It's going to be very steady and very spacious. It's going to unlock this feeling of possibility, of looking forward to the future. And that can be exciting, but it's not frenetic. Okay. So I'm going to go through 3 different ways that you can tap into your inner knowing. And these are very simple, easy to do ways to tap into your inner yes. The first one is the pause before commitment practice. And that's what we're just calling it right now. So before you commit to anything, we're going to pause. This is not about delaying indefinitely, and it's not about like slowing everything down. It is, however, about interrupting a reflexive yes, like the thing that just comes out when you react to stuff. Okay. So instead of just being like, sure thing, I want you to create a different phrase that works for you. Like, let me check in and get back to you, or that sounds great. Let me check my schedule. Oh, that sounds really interesting. Let me get back with you on this. Find something that feels natural to you and give yourself a minimum pause. Like, even if you're just like, let me check my schedule, and you get back with them in 10, 15 minutes. Wherever you are able to do this, it's going to open up a lot of space for you. And it's also going to help you tap into whether or not you actually want to do the damn thing or not. So during the pause, do you feel like revved up and anxious? Do you feel pressured? Or does your body relax? Like when you imagine saying yes to this thing, does it feel good physically in your body? And if you've been tapping into your inner knowing for a while and you really feel aligned in the decisions that you make, you may be past this point. But if you need to check in with your system at any point, you can go back to these basics, right? So these pauses, whenever you insert a pause in your decision-making process, even for a few seconds, it helps build self-trust. It helps you learn to trust your intuition, learn to trust that inner yes. Okay. So the second way you can kind of identify this inner yes is through paying attention to expansion versus contraction. So this is a simple body-based feedback loop. You can ask yourself something like, when I imagine saying yes to this, do I expand or contract? When I imagine saying yes to this, how do I feel? So expansion might feel like your breath deepening, sitting up a little straighter, being curious, open, optimistic, or just feeling like, yeah, that feels good. The vibes are immaculate. We're good here. Contraction might feel like your jaw clenching, your heart starting to race, shallow breath. We talked about that last episode about your breath being way up here in your chest, right below your throat. It might be heavy or braced energy. It might also be like this. For me, it comes across as like this, oh, God, feels like a slog. Or sometimes it's like I'm faced with a decision and it's an immediate no. I'm like, no. And that immediate no does not sound like panic. It does not come from fear, because it is just like, no, that's not for us. Contraction isn't always a no. Sometimes it is fear. But if you are continually contracting around certain decision-making opportunities, that's information. So that's when you can start digging in and be like, okay, where is this fear coming from? What am I actually afraid of? One of the tools that I will use with my clients is the 5 whys. And I love sharing this on podcasts or in blogs and emails and all that, because I find it's very valuable. And so what you do is you ask why 5 times. And so it could be like, I don't want to volunteer for the PGA. Why? Well, because it's going to take up too much of my time. Why? Because the other moms are going to be really demanding, and I don't want to deal with them. Why? Because it brings up a bunch of junk from high school with all the mean girls around me. Oh, I don't want to volunteer for the PGA because I've got this old junk from the mean girls in high school and I don't want to relive that. Okay, cool. So with that information, then I can decide to either go in and try to heal those parts or just, I don't know, spend my volunteer hours elsewhere. Okay. So getting in there and asking yourself why 5 times. And for things that are deeper and you're like journaling through hard stuff, I encourage you to go through all 5 of the whys. So there's a thing you're afraid of or you don't want to do. Why? Answer. Why? Answer. Why? Answer. Why? Answer. Why? And then that final answer will really get to the root of the problem. So our final way to kind of assess what our inner yes is saying, or if it's saying yes at all, is allowing for little instances of micro trust. So letting small yeses lead you. Your self-trust is not a character in an action film. You are not, and I'm thinking of True Lies, you are not Jamie Lee Curtis running and jumping to grab onto Arnold Schwarzenegger's hand. I don't even know if that's a scene in that movie, but those 2 characters just came to mind. You don't have to be in a big dramatic moment to build trust. And in fact, if you're building trust with yourself, it's these little tiny agreements that really help. So some of these examples can be like honoring when you're done for the day, like tapping into your energy when you've marked everything off your to-do list. If you're able to then just sign off for the day, do it. If you're not able to, then, how can you build in some more fun tasks for your day? Talking to my small business owners right now, it is very easy to just like heads down, work, 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 and get to a point by like 3 or 4 in the afternoon where you're like, okay, I'm done with everything. I could keep working because you're in that pattern. Tap into your body. Does it want to keep working, or does it want to relax and go like read something for fun? Go for a walk. Another way you can do this is choosing rest without justification. You don't have to justify a nap, especially on the weekends. Oh my gosh. You don't have to justify any rest time, downtime, leisure time with, well, I worked so hard or I did all of these things, so now I can rest. So now I can binge watch Heated Rivalry or whatever. I still have to watch that, so no spoilers. Saying no to something that's low stakes, like getting together, like with friends. Just if it doesn't vibe, it doesn't vibe. Another way you can do it is listening to your body and be like, what do I want to eat today for breakfast? Or what do I want for dinner tonight? And really tapping into that. And being like, yeah, maybe I want like a steak, or maybe I just want to do like total girl dinner and have a lot of veggies and cheese and stuff. Listen to it and then follow that if you can. Like, obviously, if your body's like, I would like to go to Bob's Steakhouse and get a filet mignon, and it is not in your budget or your day-to-day activities, talk to your system. Be like, hey, boo, loving the champagne taste. However, a $75 steak is not happening. So what do we want instead? And what this does is it opens up a line of communication between you and your body, you and your intuition. And these small yeses are going to teach your body that you are listening, that you do follow through. And over time, bigger decisions feel clearer because your self-trust already exists. And you will find that the more you trust yourself, the easier it becomes to trust yourself. And you don't need an explanation. Like, you don't need to know what you didn't encounter because your body said, oh, that's probably not the best decision for us. And you followed what your body said. So this week, I want to invite you to pick one thing, one small, low stakes decision, like picking dinner, like a social thing with friends, nothing big. We're not talking buying houses or quitting jobs, okay? Don't do it. And don't come after me if that's what you choose to do. That's on you. Choose one small, safe, low stakes decision and pause. Check in for any contraction or expansion. Notice then what happens when you honor those signals, and notice the clarity that comes from that. Okay. So your clarity is going to get stronger and your self-trust is going to get stronger through practice and through time. I'm sorry, but unlearning all the conditioning that we have and we have been subjected to over and over throughout our lives, it does not happen overnight. I wish it did. If I could just wave this wand and poof, all of that conditioning went away, I'd do it. I absolutely would. But this is an unlearning process, and this is a deconstruction process for what it means to be a people pleaser, for what it means to go along to get along, and for what it means to be a good girl. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much again for tuning in. I'm so glad you're here. If you're listening to this the week it comes out, so the week of January 19th, I want to invite you to join me if you're a business owner on Thursday, January 22nd, for the Profitable Pivots workshop. This is a paid workshop, and it is actually a workshop. You're going to walk away with actual information and a plan to pivot something in your business. You're also going to walk away with a workbook and a custom GPT that I have created specifically for this workshop. I will have that information in the show notes so you can find that link. Also, if you are a member of Patreon, thank you so much for supporting this work. I could not do all the things that I do without you. And I'm just so excited that you're there. If you would like to be a Patreon supporter, you can join for free, or you can pick a paid tier that works for you. And that's patreon.com/theglow-up-circle. You can also find me on Instagram at It's Megan Winkler, YouTube at It's Megan Winkler. And I'm getting more active on LinkedIn, y'all. So that's my little username is Megan Winkler 1, the number 1. Because there was already a Megan Winkler on there. So if you want to come hang out over there and, make it look like you're doing work stuff if your boss comes by, but really you're just reading stuff from me, come join me. I would love to see you there. As always, take care of yourself, hydrate, stay safe out there. Remember, you are magical, you are powerful, you are resourced, you are creative, and you are an amazing human being. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.